Bitcoin rises after briefly crossing above $64,000 over the weekend. Vice President Kamala Harris breaks her silence on digital assets. And Core DAO contributor Rich Rines shares his outlook for crypto markets through 2024. As of noon Eastern, Bitcoin climbed 1.5%, trading at $63,600 after briefly jumping above that $64,000 mark on Sunday night. Ether popped 4% at $2,600, and Solana traded at $144. Okay, let's get into the top stories. For the first time, Vice President Kamala Harris has given clearer insight into her view on digital assets. At a New York City fundraiser yesterday, she vowed to, quote, encourage innovative technologies like AI and digital assets while protecting our consumers and investors. Now, this could signal a warming attitude toward the industry that has faced scrutiny over the years from the Biden administration. Harris went on to say that her White House would, quote, create a stable business environment with consistent and transparent rules of the road. This acknowledgement from the Democratic nominee was long awaited by the industry. Former President Donald Trump has been openly courting the digital asset space and has the backing of industry veterans like the Winklevoss twins. His campaign has been accepting crypto donations since May, and he himself has been involved in Web3 projects, including NFT collections and a DeFi platform. Next, a Texas court dismissed the consensus lawsuit against the SEC. Now, this suit was filed back in April after the Web3 software company received a Wells notice from the regulator that cited concerns over its involvement with the Ethereum network, as well as alleged securities concerns over its MetaMask products. Now, the Ethereum investigation was ultimately dropped, but that was before the SEC officially filed suit in late June. Now, that Texas judge argued in last week's filing that since the SEC had ended its Ethereum investigation, the arguments offered by Consensus are not justified. Reacting to this dismissal, Consensus said that the end of the SEC's Ethereum 2.0 investigation is a significant win for the industry and that the sector is on the right path in regards to crypto regulation. Consensus still faces a legal battle with the regulator relating to accusations of violating securities laws with its MetaMask staking and MetaMask swaps products. All right, let's talk more about markets for our main story. I spoke with Rich Rines, contributor for Core DAO, about how Bitcoin and Ether's rallies stack up. Plus, he shares his outlook for the crypto market through the end of 2024. Okay, so let's start with Bitcoin and this rally in the past couple of days. Do you attribute it to the macroeconomic environment, the rate cut last week with the potential for more on the way, or do you think it has to do with something else entirely? As in, where do you see this new base of support for Bitcoin's price? Because so much of the momentum that we saw this year was really pegged to the billions of dollars worth of inflows to those new spot BTC ETFs in the US.
So excited to chat today. And I think we're continuing to see more and more inflows, right? Like the pace has slowed down, but there is, institutional buying pressure. I do think we saw maybe with some of the, prior expectations around the elections, a lot of uncertainty in the market. And now it seems increasingly more consensus that regardless of who gets elected, Bitcoin will be higher. Maybe there's more of a bottoming if Kamala gets elected versus Trump. But I think in general, there's consensus view that 6 to 9 months from now, Bitcoin is substantially higher. And to your point, the macroeconomic backdrop is pretty good. If you were to tell me a couple of years ago, rates are where they're at today and Bitcoin's at 63K, I would have said, you're totally crazy. But with the potential of future rate cuts and, of course, the 50 bips that we saw recently, I think it's a very exciting time to be long Bitcoin.
And where does Ether stand in all of this movement? Because it's had some moments where it's outperforming Bitcoin. That subsided. But I am wondering what would make a mainstream investor opt to buy into this cryptocurrency when Bitcoin is really the market darling right now? Is there even room for this altcoin to have breakout moves right now? And what do you think drives investors to Ether versus Bitcoin at the moment?
There's always reasons to be long more than just Bitcoin, but I think it's important to think about Wall Street and even Main Street in this case has been hearing about Bitcoin for 15 years. It has a very clear narrative, particularly in such uncertain times, being a better digital gold, this alternative, safe haven asset. Ethereum has nothing like that. And we did see a run up, heading into the Ethereum ETFs, which wound up ultimately being a sell the news type event. But Ethereum is still trying to figure out what its mainstream narrative is. And I think until it unlocks a very easy to understand narrative like being a better digital gold, Ethereum will continue to struggle.
To your point, pretty tepid spot crypto ETF flows in general. Spot ether funds never really took off at all. Do you think Wall Street is still hesitant to get in and there's work to be done to get investment advisors on board with these products? Or is this less about education and more about waiting for something new to drive excitement and adoption? Perhaps just getting those wirehouses to start actively selling these funds?
So that is actually a big driver of pent-up demand. There's lots of people who cannot currently express their views today and are waiting for their financial advisors to make these products available to them. I think that'll be a wave that we see over the next several years. I think people have been hearing about this for a long time. There was the historical, hey, maybe allocate 1% of your net worth to Bitcoin. I think now we're seeing multiple percents getting recommended by different financial advisors, but that takes a long time to proliferate throughout the system. But I do think that is a trend that we will see. I don't think it needs a new narrative per se on Bitcoin the way that Ethereum needs a new narrative. But I think if we do see continued price action in a positive direction of Bitcoin, particularly if Trump takes office, I think that will get ETF inflows kicked up to a level that we haven't seen since the products initially launched.
Where do you see Bitcoin headed by the end of the year? Some people have called for new all-time highs before 2025. Are you in that camp, or do you see us continuing this range-bound trading that we've been stuck in for the past few months?
I think if Trump wins, we do see a new all-time high this year. I think that would be very, very positive, particularly with the focus that he's placed in his campaign around Bitcoin and very specifically to Bitcoin, not necessarily as crypto generally. It's been very focused in that direction. I think if the Democrats win, I think we will have some sort of a bottoming, and then, so let's call it 6 to 9 months later, we do wind up significantly higher. But I think in either case, it's structurally set up for a Bitcoin breakout.
Last question for you. Too much of the conversation tends to revolve around Bitcoin and Ether now because of the ETF wrappers around both of those spot cryptocurrencies. But what else are you looking at when you think about the market? Are you interested in the US dollar pegged stable coins? Are there other altcoins that you're keeping an eye on? What should people be paying attention to right now?
So there are really two product market fits in crypto. One is speculation and the other is stable coins. I think stable coins, and I recently spent some time in Singapore and Korea at a time, are really this new harbinger of potentially billions of people into the crypto space where it is a 10 to 100x better solution. I think on the more speculative side, if you will, we're seeing these assets like Core that are, almost like higher beta Bitcoin assets that are trying to play for this next wave of institutional adoption, trying to add maybe yield bearing products on top of people's Bitcoin holdings. I think in general, crypto is trying to find new narratives, new excitement drivers for kind of long-term adoption. And those are the two that we have so far, but I'm sure others will emerge.
Okay, that's all for Crypto World today, but we'll be back again tomorrow, and we'll see you then.